Too late.
We're here now.
And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 19 and Happy New Year to all of you. I'm TJ.
And I'm Kent.
And joining us tonight is Cam Hayes. Hayes C494 on YouTube and Instagram. Ladies and gentlemen, while we love Cam on this show, I'm going to warn you now, this is your explicit content warning. Hide your kids. Hide your wives. This shit's about to get real. So, Cam, as always, brother, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, man.
So, you have got a match coming up. You're hosting your first match this weekend. Kent and I are going to be there. Dare I say this is going to be a straight-up hootenanny mixed with a hoedown.
It's going to be a good time. It's going to be fun.
Maybe even a kerfuffle.
Maybe. You know, maybe even Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know. We might not have time. But with that, so Cam, for those that might not have seen it, has been posting video footage of you proofing your stages. So why don't you elaborate to any extent that you are willing? Because I know you want to keep the stages blind and unseen, right? So why don't you tell us how that process went and what you can share with our lovable listeners at home.
All right. So last weekend it was rainy and generally unpleasant outside. And that was one of the big concerns a lot of people had was they were saying, oh, y'all are going to do this match in the rain? That's going to suck. That's going to make it harder for the shooters. No. When I proofed these stages, we proofed the stages in the rain, in the cold, which is why I'm sick now, in the rain, in the cold. And we were actually proofing the stages with smaller targets than you guys are going to be shooting. So whenever we proofed these stages, we did it with smaller targets. And then we also added time because there's, even though we didn't actually know the true distance to targets because, we've got a couple of tips and tricks that we do in order to hit targets at longer distance that are UKD, unknown distance. Whenever we were proofing these stages, we didn't laze targets or mill targets or anything like that. We just did it, our way, which was to get fast hits, which is kind of your objective in this match. So that was, kind of one of those things. That's why I kept saying, don't bring an LRF and, I don't want people using spotting scopes off to the side is because as a designated marksman, whenever you are in an engagement, you're already being engaged. So the short par times are supposed to somewhat simulate this is how much time you have before your buddies start getting killed, and that is a really grim way to look at it. But, that's why we proofed the stages the way we did and stuff like that. So we go out there. It's rainy. It's shitty. We're shooting at small targets. We're just trying to get times. We're trying to figure out how much time it takes. Me, a very minimally experienced shooter in this field. Ashton Johnson, who is, he's got, more trophies and medals for, long range shooting and stuff than I have fingers and toes. And I'm from West Virginia. We had a lot of power plants out there and stuff. So I've got a couple extra. I can count the 21. So, and then, we had Richard Todd, who's the owner of Todd Resource Management out there, who's also a competitive shooter. And, he hosts his own matches. He proofs his own stages and all that other stuff. So, we had 3 really experienced dudes out there proofing these stages. So all of these things that we're asking these people to do can be done. It was done by 3 different people in the par time, in the allotted amount of time. And we did it with 3 different guns. So to proof the stages, I wanted to make sure that it was doable for each division. So, we have troop division where you have up to a 4 times magnified optic on your gun. Like I had said before, I didn't restrict any chambering. So you can shoot a 6.5 Grendel, you could shoot a 5.56, you could shoot a 308. It didn't matter. So we proofed all these stages with 5.56s. For troop division, I used a 10.5-inch AR with not a muzzle brake. It had a muzzle Loudner thing on the end of it. Just I think they're called a linear brake or whatever, where it just sends all the recoil into you, just all of it, all the recoil all the time. So I had a 10.5-inch with a linear brake and a fixed 3 power optic on it. I had my 3-gun rifle And then I had the rifle that I shoot in all the sniper matches and shit. And those were the guns that I used to proof the stages. So I know it can be done. It can be done in all divisions, and it's been done by multiple people. So, people are going to be mad about the par times. They're going to be like, those par times were too fast. It makes me sad, and it makes my vagina hurt and whatever. But it'd be like that sometimes. It's kind of like war. You're not supposed to just win.
But that's what we do. We
That
win.
is what we do.
We
but
win.
It's not easy.
It's
doable.
But I want to crush my enemies and see them driven before me.
Right? Yes, that is the goal. But we're not just going to hand it to you. You got to work for it. You have to take your APFT. You have to shoot expert.
So it looks like there's also quite a bit of physical activity that's going to be involved in these stages. It's not just going to be running up to the shooter's box and hitting go, right? So what can you tell us about the physical demands of this match?
So I know I look like a Greek god. Don't let my diet fool you. Why are you laughing, Kent? What the hell, man? So, I'm a big dude, right? So I'm not in the greatest of shapes. I'm not 18 or 19 years old, and I wreck my motorcycle like every week. So I'm always hurt. And so you guys know I'm not good at wheelies yet. And then so there's me, a 235 pound, 5'10" dude. And then there's my buddy Ashton Johnson, who's I think 6'1" and 240 pounds or something like that. I think he weighs about the same as I do. And then there's Richard Todd, and I don't know, he's actually kind of a smaller dude by comparison to me and Ashton. I think he might be 190 pounds or something. He might be right at 200. I don't know. But either way, you've got three bigger dudes, and we're okay, on this stage, you have to run, and you have to, pick up, ammo cans. We didn't have ammo cans. We had buckets, so we were using buckets. And you have to run kind of a far distance, and then you have to shoot effectively at distance.
Well, I think we could debate the definition of the word effectively.
Well, you're right.
Does suppressing fire earn you bonus points?
There was a dude who messaged me about this match, and he told me that he is going to be using a red dot. He's actually a friend of our friend X-Ring, who I see is in the chat. He said that he's going to be rocking a red dot for the match, and I messaged him and I was like, I don't think that's a good idea, but you do you, fam. It's not what it's designed for. I mean, I'm sure you could do it. I'm totally sure you could do it. And I mean, one of the most common questions that I get about the match is about target size. Everyone's asking me about target size. And generally, what I've been telling everybody is the targets are about 18 inches wide, which is how wide a dude is. But all the targets aren't dudes. So, I've got IPSC size targets that are, the regular, they think they're 30 inches tall. Is that right, Kent? And
yes.
IPSC, yeah, so they're 30 inches tall and 17 3/4 inches wide. That's your regular IPSC targets. I've got a few of those. I've got, I think, 5 of those at this match. But I've also got shields. A shield is 17 3/4, so it's the same width as an IPSC, but it's 24 inches tall. But it's also closer, so it doesn't really matter. It's the width is what was kind of important for me, because I know that people are going to be bringing ACOGs, which have that ranging capability in them, and people using mil-dot scopes. But then I've also got a 12-inch target out there. And then I've got a way reduced size target. But those are all, I don't want to give away too much.
Yeah, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
No, there is going to be one small target on this match, and it's worth extra points. And you are still under par time and everything else. But I'm not giving out any more details than that. You'll have to find out at the match.
Outstanding. I know I'm excited. Kent, you and I have been yammering on about this pretty much every day. And I know you're stoked.
So my plan is to miss with the rifle, then draw my pistol and make up my shots that way, because I think I might have a better chance. that and that Connex box with the little fucking tire things on it that we have to crawl up. All I can say is you better put a fat dude on the other end of that Connex box, because when I crawl up it, it's going to start fucking tilting toward the sky. It's going to start seesawing up.
It'll look like the Titanic.
Yeah.
No, Ken, I try to tell you, man, you got to think more positive about yourself and really get that self-esteem up, because you're not tilting the other end up. You're just so strong, you're pulling the top down to you. Like I told you, man, just hold on. Once you grab the top, when it teeters back over, it'll flip you right on top of that thing. You'll probably save seconds, brother.
Oh my God, this is going to be great. I cannot wait. I will be shooting in the Special Olympics division, so that'll be fun. Somebody's got to bring up the bottom in practice score. That's going to be my role. No, man, this is going to be great. It's going to be awesome to get to stretch out the 1 to 6 vortex and see what it can really do. I've got as far as 300 yards to shoot for real around me, so 6 is going to be nice. I'm looking forward to it. And candidly, like, all of us camping at a gun range in the middle of North Carolina for 2 days is going to be fantastic.
South.
No, I said Snorth. It's South North. It's South North Carolina is what it looks like to me.
North Carolina.
It's North Carolina. That's what it is.
About it.
It's going to be a freaking great time. So, yeah, I hope there's not a local bar somewhere where the waitresses are all expecting good patrons and nice, pleasantness.
There's not a local bar anywhere near anything out there.
That's probably good.
There's nothing.
That's probably good.
In fact, so some dude said, I don't know if they're still going to do it. I know that one of the dudes who normally brings a big ass smoker out to matches and stuff like that, he was going to come with his dad, but they ended up saying that they had something coming up work related. They worked together. They had something come up work related and they couldn't make it to the match because they were going to come out there and just smoke a bunch of meat, and like everybody was going to just bring their own meat and shit like that. But I'm sure people are going to have grills out there. And if they don't, you should bring grills out there, because, everybody's going to be out there, like, who is camping there is going to just be like staying there. So
going to be an awesome time.
Yeah, and it just kind of dawned on me. So, we've got X-Ring in the chat. X-Ring, welcome formally. We definitely need to get you on the show, man. I know Kent and I both subscribe to your channel, and you put out some great content. But just X-Ring alone, along with, well, at least the three of us can make up half of it. At least half of an X-Ring, maybe. Plus everybody else that's coming, dude, the amount of collective experience and knowledge that's going to come out to this range in this event is going to be fantastic.
Yeah. Well, like, so as the match director, like, whenever people were telling me that how far they're willing to travel to come to a match just because it's got my name attached to it, like, you guys are coming from 8+ hours away each. Yep. And then, like, and you guys, for a 1-day match for me, for a dude who you guys haven't even met in person before. And then, like, I've got dudes coming from Florida and shit like that. Like, they want to drive all the way up this match and like, to me, that's like, it's such a huge, like you guys trust me to put on a good match. This match could be fucking garbage, and you guys are just throwing, like, you're throwing a risk at it. At least you get to hang out with me afterwards, right?
Yeah. No, it'll be fun, and if anything, like, the more we can do, the whole point of the podcast, the whole point of us wanting to make a business out of this and be serious was so that we could promote and elevate good people and worthwhile content in the gun industry.
So why y'all promoting me?
Yeah, right.
So there are nuggets of gold amidst the profanity-laced tirades.
There are. No, I mean, it was either this or, like, do a video about the Taurus TX22 or whatever the fuck that gay shit is. So, might as well come to a match and help. And I'm really excited that that there's going to be a young female shooter there. It's cool that we're getting youth in. That's effing awesome. And I'm proud to be a part of that, because I mean, that's what the sport really needs. That's what we need to grow. So that's fantastic. Speaking of female shooters, I've been prodded to give a shout out to Unicorns and Dragons on Instagram. because she's going to shoot me at the range next week or 2 weeks from now if I don't. So shout out female shooters, #unicorns and dragons. Go check her out. See, I told you I would shout you out tonight because nobody cares. We have no show plan.
No.
We don't have a show plan at all.
No.
There's no plan.
You cannot rule over free men and still consider them free. You just gotta let things do what they do.
Just let it marinate. It's fine.
Amen, brother.
Also, resistance is futile. I have learned.
And this is the way.
Oh God.
This is the way.
This is the way.
Actually, you know what? Hold that thought. Hold that thought. I'll be right
Oh
back.
dear God, he's gonna pull out a Mandalorian mask. I know it.
If he has a Mandalorian mask for this weekend, I just don't think I'll be able to contain myself.
Oh God, help us all. So
I won't need a bipod for the raging boner I have. Yes.
Oh, he's got
I'm back.
a Yoda shirt.
I'm back.
No, it's not a Mandalorian.
I have a
mask,
baby Yoda shirt. I've got a Mandalorian tattoo on my leg. I'm not gonna pull my leg up because I'm shirt cocking it right now. You know, all you can see is from here up. So I got some Winnie the Pooh shit going on.
Full on Winnie the Pooh.
You guys don't know.
Folks, I warned you.
Yeah.
That was your warning. You gave him a warning. You gave him fair warning. Hey, what's everybody drinking tonight?
I've actually got nothing right now. So real quick though, we are getting
Bacardi and orange juice.
My girl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Bitch drink.
I'll go get my White Claw out of the fridge later, guys.
Fuck you.
So real quick, we are at least getting a question in the chat. X-Ring is asking, will we be able to drive from stage to stage?
Yes. Yeah, you're not rucking. Actually, he's not the first one to ask me that. So I don't know if you guys know this, but X-Ring, I was about to call him his real name. I don't know if he's cool with that or not. X-Ring has a group of dudes that he shoots with. They're called running gunners, and they go do these like athletic events that involve shooting and whatnot. And it makes me a little bit nauseous just thinking about it because I'm just like, oh, that's too much physical activity. I just want to shoot stuff and stay still, like in a real gunfight, right? And then
just hunker down and call for
right. No, he's a member of this group of running gunners. And whenever I was talking about this match, those dudes were like, so we're like rucking 9 miles to the next stage, right? I'm like, no, God, no, absolutely not. I should have been like, yeah, if you want to, go ahead. But no, you are totally allowed to everybody like load up. The only physical part that you have to do at my match is the actual stages. So, and you know, one of the things that's kind of shitty about, you know, like how physical my match is and some of the people that are coming is, you know, some of the dudes that are coming to match aren't in great shape. You know, there are stages for people like that. All three of us. So there are stages in my match for people like that who aren't in great shape. But then there are stages where if you're in great shape, you're going to have an advantage over everybody else. But that's only one stage. You know, so it's just like any big match that you go to, you know, you're going to have stages that you're just a fucking rock star. And then you're going to have stages that you go to and you're going to wish you didn't show up. Yeah.
Yep. But I
think
what?
You guys will be okay.
You'll learn just like you learn from everything else. And trying it and failing is a whole shitload better than talking about it on the internet. So there's that.
You can't get better if you don't know exactly how bad you suck.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just waiting for the get better part.
Yeah.
Yay, team mediocrity. But
Myelin Nation.
Everyone gets a trophy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Bullet Sponge 555 is asking about match details. So Bullet Sponge, there are details on the Facebook page for this match. But long story short, it is at Todd Resource Management in South Carolina. All the PayPal information, Cam, I assume you still have at least a couple slots left.
Yeah, I've got before this podcast started, my PayPal's gone off since we started this. So apparently somebody's paid for a seat since we've started talking. But there is 9 slots left. Okay.
So with that, it's a designated marksmanship match or designated marksmanship rifle match. So gas gun, looking at about 600 yards max distance, and the stages are going to be blind. But I will certainly blind-ish. I will direct you one to Cam's YouTube page. There's too many social media outlets. I will direct you to Cam's YouTube channel, Hayes C494, as you can see from his
right there. It's right here.
His high-speed banner in the back there. But he's got a lot of details on his videos. He's put those out. So looks like Mind Bullet fessed up and said he was the one that was late paying.
So just real quick, Bullet Sponge is a local cat to me, and he's been showing up to a lot of our stuff at West Shore. So if you want to come, pay the man and get in the truck with me, and we'll make this happen. But
Friday morning, bright and early.
Friday morning, bright and ugly. But you can't sleep in a rooftop tent with me and TJ because the Snuggle Buddies are already, reserved.
And yeah, it's got weird.
He could bring a tent. He could bring a tent.
Thunder Buddies, damn it. Kent, we've talked about this.
I'm going to thunder your buddy. It's going to be great.
Oh, God, help me.
But
say it slow.
Yeah. Say it slow. Daddy, say it slow.
No, it's echoing in my brain now. Just stop. Anyway, but yeah, either way, it's going to be a great time. So we did sponsor 2 spots,
yes.
2 entries into this match. And you, Cam, you've already given those out, correct?
Yes. So one of the spots I gave to Sophia Byram. So Sophia I think she's 9 years old, and she comes to a lot of precision rifle matches and stuff like that. But the problem with this one was her dad's going to be working the match. So there wasn't it wasn't really going to work out where she was going to get to shoot it. But then I was like, she gets a free slot to shoot this match because you guys are paying for it. And then her dad, Tom, was like, all right, well, she's shooting the match then. So for her, she's either going to shoot it on Friday or she's going to shoot it on Saturday after everybody else. So she's either going to shoot it before everybody else or she's going to shoot it after everybody else because she's 9 years old. So I think we can agree that that's acceptable. And then the other slot, so I put Sophia with you, Kent, for obvious reasons. Her name's Sophia. And then whenever the other guy, Mike, I said that you, TJ, that you were basically the one sponsoring him. He is a law student currently. So he was in the Marines. I don't know how long he was in the Marines or whatever. And now he's a law student, but he walks with a cane. So he's going to come and do this match. His cripply ass is going to come and, fuck around my stages with a cane and shit. So, there's that.
This is like adopting Ethiopian puppies on the internet. We're going to get to meet them, and it's going to be so great. Sarah McLachlan's going to start singing. It's going to be awesome. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. That dude with the cane is going to whip my ass. Dude.
I mean, I don't know. I think I think Cam's going to get his ass whipped. He's the one talking shit.
Oh
no, I fucking love Mike. Me and Mike talk to each other. Me, Mike, and Jason. We've got our we're the 3 best friends that anybody can have on my Facebook, whatever, on Facebook Messenger. And then those dudes, I have a message thing that I got going on with them too. I talk to them just about as much as I talk to you guys. So I talk to them about daily. Usually the content's a little different. I think one of our last conversations was about Kesha versus Katy Perry and spitting on assholes or something like that.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah. TJ and I are not qualified to have that conversation.
I don't even know. I know one of those people.
Is Kesha like KE $, whatever? Is that her?
Yes. You know exactly who I'm talking about.
I hear my heart beat to the beat of the drum.
I
want to shake. Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. He can be your backup stinger.
I'll be bumping that shit in the truck on my way down to North Carolina.
Yes. North Carolina. Yes.
Okay.
It's going to be great.
Right.
Oh, man.
So,
do we have a show tonight or what? Let's have a show. Let's
kind of.
Fucking do some productive stuff.
That wasn't productive?
It's always productive. We get to make fun of potentially combat wounded veterans and
that's fucking terrible. The guy's done more for our country with like himself single-handedly than I'll ever do for anybody. And I called him an Ethiopian puppy, I think. So that's fucking
I can call him Gimpy if I damn well please.
right.
I even said something to him about him crutching his ass around my match or something.
Oh, that's great.
No,
That's
it's going to
so
be a
funny.
good time. It's going to be a good time. So yeah, with that, 2020, everybody, it is a new decade.
It is the Roaring 20s.
New me.
Yeah.
New year, new me.
Yeah. I once saw a meme that, New Year's resolution is a to-do list for the first week of January.
That's about it.
With that being said, us being the semi-professional shooters that we are, every one of us likes to set goals for ourselves and maybe venture out into different arenas or try new things on the range when we're out there. So I'd like us to shift the gears and talk more about that, about our goals for the coming year, and where we hope to take our pew life, as it were. So Kent, what do you got on the docket, man? You've really been hitting the training circuit really hard, been really firing things up with your own training with Green Mountain Defense. But I'm curious, what do you have in store for yourself for this year?
To make myself worthy of all the love and support and help I've gotten from a bunch of people in the industry over the last year and a half, and to put out the best quality product that we possibly can, and fucking losing more weight and shooting more, being better. I've got a little boy now, so we've got to do all we can for him. So that's what's on my mind, is just being a better version of myself. And that's not like some corny New Year's bullshit. That's like something we try to do all the time, right? So that's what I'm looking forward to. As far as like specific shooting goals, this coming weekend is a perfect example. I'm like taking myself further out of my comfort zone and shit. Like, I have no business shooting a 600-yard designated marksman match with a rifle. Like, let's be real candid. I'm a defensive rifle shooter inside of the confines of the 6 Hour Academy's 50-yard range. That's like who I am, with a rifle in my hand. So why not, man? Friggin' rip the doors off and go for it. See what happens. We're gonna push all kinds of different boundaries. And as far as the pistol training and the the things of that nature, I'm just going to continue to work to earn the respect and support I've already been given, and hope for more of it, because I'd really like to make this a full-time thing and not have to work a day job if I could ever manage it, but we'll see. So those are my goals.
Outstanding, man. Well, if I know you'll excel no matter what you put your mind to. So I am happy to be a proud supporter of Green Mountain Defense. And I look forward to training with you, man. But I'm really curious what old Camalam has in store for 2020. So you're hosting your first match this weekend, right? For those that haven't been paying attention to the first half hour of the show and all of its debauchery, and I use that term very loosely. But what do you see yourself doing for this year, Cam? You've got to have some plans, some goals in mind. I'm really curious what you're aiming for, man. No pun intended.
Hookers and cocaine.
Yeah, a worthy goal. The Roaring 20s.
No, so hookers and cocaine. So I don't enjoy my job anymore. My regular day job. I used to enjoy it. I make good money. I work with good people, which is 90% of being happy at your workplace is being cohabitable. And being friends with the dudes who you work with and stuff like that's a big part of having a healthy work life. And I'm just not happy with what I do anymore. Like I make CNC programs for 5-axis CNC machines at a granite factory and shit. And I have somebody you need to talk to, and it just effing occurred to me. I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's okay. Don't let it happen again.
No, I'm sorry. Remind me. I didn't realize. I knew you were running CNC machines. I didn't realize you were writing programs. I thought you were like hitting the buttons on the machines.
Oh no, I do it all. So yeah, I do that, and then I operate, forklifts and all kinds of stuff. Basically anything on our shop floor. I do just about all of it. But like I'm not saying like I do all the work, nobody else does anything. Like I'm not saying that. Everybody has a job there. It's just, I'm not happy with that. I want to be in the shooting industry. Like that's what I want to do. So I just applied for a job with Moss Defense out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Actually, I didn't apply. I sent in a resume. And unfortunately, like what I find a lot of times with, companies in the shooting community and stuff like that, or companies like that, is they don't want to pay people, a lot to come work for them, regardless of their prior experience or anything like that, because there's so many FUDs that are willing to just apply. Like they've got piles of applications from dudes who don't know dick about guns except what their grandpappy taught them, and stuff like that. So then, like, whenever they ask for a salary requirement or something like that, I'm like, I know my worth, but at the same time, I have to compete with dudes who are going to do this for pennies, So I just applied for a job with them. I got a really sketchy phone call. I think I told you guys about that. I got a really sketchy phone call where they asked for me by name and said they had a job for me. They couldn't tell me what company it was or where I'd be going and stuff like that, but they were really interested in my long range experience and stuff like that. And I was like, that's weird.
I'll take how to end up in a bathtub of ice missing a kidney in Tijuana for $1,000, Alex.
Yeah, right there, right? It was like, that was the weirdest phone call I've ever gotten, probably. And it was just so weird. I plan on doing more competitions and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure the next competition that I'll actually be shooting in is going to be the Bushnell Elite Tactical Sniper Challenge, which is I think they've moved the location of it. It was in Arena Training Facility last year. I think it's in Kentucky this year, but I'm not 100% sure. X-Ring should know. He might chime in here in a minute. But I plan on shooting the Bushnell Elite Tactical Sniper Challenge with Adolphus Jones, who is he also shoots for Team Aerodynamics. Oh, can I talk about my sponsors for a minute? No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, there's that. I would like to actually start doing, more in the shooting community and kind of push away from my current day job and maybe do my current day job part-time, and maybe I could rekindle some of the love for it or something and just do more in the shooting community. Like I want to get paid to do the shit that I love to do kind of thing,
Absolutely. So that's real quick, Cam. So X-Ring did chime in. He says Ellerby, North Carolina.
Okay, so it's in North Carolina. They had said Kentucky at one point too, and I wasn't sure where it was exactly. They had said it was going to be at Rock Castle or something, so I didn't know if it moved to North Carolina after Rock Castle was sold. Okay, so that's what I just said was Rock Castle. All right, dope. So yeah, so I plan on shooting that one. Last year, me and AJ shot the Bushnell Elite Tactical Sniper Challenge. We did very well. We shot in Mechanized Division, which is the bitch division, whatever you want to call it. We shot in Mechanized Division. We did really, really well. I was surprised at how well we shot. Not because AJ's not a good shooter or I'm not a good shooter. It's just because of the level of people that were there. Everybody there was an A-list hitter. Everybody. So I was really surprised that we placed as well as we did. And we're gonna go do it again, this year, and we're gonna hopefully represent Aerodynamics well. I was actually at the Aerodynamics training facility earlier today talking to Cecil about my rifle cartridge, which that's another 2020 thing. Is it was supposed to be done, weeks and months ago, but whenever things happen, they happen. So now it looks like we're 6 weeks out from having the reamers. And then after we get our reamers in, then basically we just got to, start doing prototypes. And I plan on doing 3 prototypes whenever the day we get not the day, but right after we get the reamers in, I'm going to have 3 prototypes for my rifle cartridge in a configuration similar to this one. And we're going to be running those in a couple of matches. So whoever partners up with me in the next few matches in 2020, I'm going to hand them one of my guns with my ammo. And I'm going to be shooting one of my guns with my ammo, and we're going to be shooting that.
That's going to be a good time, and I'm really looking forward to hearing more. Cam, you and I geeked out after the show a couple episodes ago about everything that you're doing with that. And I'm really interested to see that. But we are getting more questions. X-Ring is asking if you are shooting mechanized again, or if you plan on doing trooper.
I don't know. Honestly, it depends on what AJ wants to do because, AJ's, he's a really physically fit dude also. I say also like I'm physically fit. AJ's a really physically fit dude or whatever, but he's got asthma. So, and that kind of hurt us last year whenever we were shooting. We shot one of the matches where you had to do you had to drag a body in a sked. And his asthma started to really fuck him up to where, towards the end of us pulling that sked, he wasn't pulling it anymore. He was trying to stay alive, So I was about to have to put his ass on the sked,
Right.
And so that is one of those things that you just got to work around. I don't mind doing mechanized division. Trust me. I love having my ass carted around and just shooting a stage and then getting back in the truck. That's great. That way I don't got to be all hot and sweaty all day.
Fair enough. So we are getting goals, and I posed this question to our audience as well about what goals they might have for themselves. And Bullet Sponge has said his goals are to acquire a CCW license for the first time in his adult life due to limitations from the previous state that he lived in, which clearly was not a free state, and to build himself into a competent and safe daily carrier. Well, Bullet Sponge, you came to the right place, man. If you're local to Kent, there's your firearms instructor right there. So
I got a little dingy ding on my website thing earlier from some dude who was going to take 2 classes from me this year, and that is Bullet Sponge.
awesome.
So,
Well,
Mr.
you're in good hands.
He's well on his way. He is well on his way.
Absolutely.
I'm going to show him all the shit not to do and how to fuck it all up, and then he'll know. And then from there on, it'll be great. No, I look forward to training with you, man. It's going to be awesome to have you out. He's been a quality cat that's been coming out to matches and practices and stuff. So it's always nice to help people who need it. What's up, Cam?
So the last part of my 2020 goals is for the Army side. So I've got options. I've got options right now. I've got more options than I've probably ever had in my military career because I am a staff sergeant. I've got 12 years in, 13. I've got 13 years in, and I'm about to ETS in October 2020. I can get out of the Army. I can switch branch of service. I can go to a different branch. I could stay in the Army. I could re-enlist and do what I'm doing, or the option that I'm more happy with, or at least I hope works out, is the way the state allocates funds is retention, recruiting, training and equipment. Training and equipment. So that's the way that the state allocates funds. So right now I'm the most important that I'm ever going to be to the Army for 5 minutes. So I told them that the things that I would that I need for me to stay in is I need them to send me back to the sniper section where I came from, and in an E6 slot there, and the bonus. That would also be nice. And sniper. So I would be in a senior sniper position as an E6. And, that's if they don't give me what I want, then, I can get out. So even if they don't put me in a senior sniper position, which is an E6, I am still fighting myself I could go back to my former MOS, which is 19 Delta. So I would be willing to go back to my former MOS, yes. So that's another thing too. So there's a couple of things that I'm bouncing around that are, possibilities that are, not set in stone yet. I'm just kind of want to see what the Army offers me. And I mean, if worse comes to worse, I'll just get the fuck out and I'll do hookers and cocaine like I was talking about. It'll be awesome.
That's awesome. What about you, Mr. Ramsey? What do you have planned?
Well, somebody somewhere has convinced me to actually start following up on all my trash talking and actually going to professional trainers. Yeah. That's what you can. Yeah. So the last couple of years in my shooting career have been going to competitions, doing, USPSA 3-gun, all that other stuff. And I've really flourished, and I'd like to say I've probably flourished about as far as I can on my own, right? I know a lot, and I know what I can do better. One of the issues that I run into is actually finding qualified's a bad word, but for lack of a better option at this point, qualified professionals that I can trust to help not just diagnose and confirm what my suspicions of my weak points are, but also guide me in the right direction and show me the easiest path that I can work on. I say easiest path like it's just a walk in the park, and it's not, but in the most non-complicated way. Efficient. There we go. In the most efficient way that I can actually get to where I would like to be. You talk about your shortcomings with the rifle. I'm pretty decent with a rifle. I'm okay with a pistol. I would say that if you put us in a match right now, you'd run circles around me in any pistol match, hands down. So I'd like to be able to at least consider myself on the same level as you when it comes to the short guns, right?
Just to be fair, I waddle circles around people. I haven't run circles around anybody for a long time.
Either way, there will be.
You ride a bike. You ride a bike around people.
Yeah,
I do that.
It's the tour to Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I could just see you on one of those little street bikes with like that bodysuit that they wear. Lance Armstrong in your way through Lance Armstrong in your way through Pennsylvania.
Please send pictures of that. Please, I need them from our refrigerator.
But yeah,
go back through Instagram.
So I think instead of just I'm trying to get off the hamster wheel. Essentially, I need to quit. I've got all this thrust and no vector, so it's time for me to actually put things in gear and get to my destination, which is just to be a better shooter. So I've really stagnated about as much as I possibly can tolerate. So February, Kent, you and I have Modern Samurai project already lined up. Come end of May time frame, I'll be coming up to your neck of the woods, and you and I are going to take a shotgun class with Performance 360. Ashton Ray and those guys, fantastic instructors. We've had them on the show before, and I'm actually really interested to see the mysteries of the shotgun unleashed, right? It's really funny. And Kim, you'd probably even seen this yourself. You deal with these precision rifle shooters or these long range shooters, and they will, they'll tailor their load. They can identify exactly what length their bullet needs to be seated into their cartridge so they can get the absolute tightest shot group ever. And you give anybody a shotgun and they're like, close enough is good enough, right? There's more to it than that, as we've learned from our discussions with those guys. And it really just started to pick into that little dingus in the back of my brain that I call the thought box, and made me start to wonder exactly how good can we do this, right?
Thought box.
Yeah, the thought box. That's the one part of my brain that actually thinks.
Is that THOT or?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Grand thumb.
Because
only because I can't spell. But yeah, so yeah, that's where we're gonna go with it. I'm gonna train smarter, and then take those skills and then continue on to get even better and do my instructors justice by continuing to do the homework and put in the practice. And maybe one day God forbid this ever happens, but maybe if the opportunity ever presents itself and I'm put in a position where I've got to put a dome shot on a guy at 15 yards inside a crowded church sanctuary, then I'll be able to make that shot.
TJ, that would never happen.
Right? It's a gun-free zone.
Name one time in history when that's ever happened, ever. You were talking about, actually using effective training or whatever. And, punching holes in paper being ballistic masturbation. I know those weren't your words, but we've talked about that before.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the prizes on my prize table is a certificate for a 1-day course for Fortitude Consulting. Fortitude Consulting is a company here in North Carolina that Gil Narvez, he's the CEO, founder, whatever you want to call it, head motherfucker in charge. And, you know, whenever he does his carbine course and stuff like that, sometimes he'll have me come in and talk about terminal performance of projectiles and stuff on the human body, as in my experience with it and stuff like that. And he'll have me, you know, help out with a couple of his courses sometimes. But he actually threw a cert on the table for either the carbine course or his pistol course, or, you know, and people who come to his courses get to go to his seminars for free.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's
Is he
one of
going
the
to be
things.
at the match this weekend?
No, he has a class.
Shit, I was looking at that in person. He and I.
Oh yeah, he knows Scott too and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Whoa, somebody's got some serious feedback going on. Is that me?
Yeah, we're getting the robot voice, buddy. We're not even at the hour mark yet.
Domo arigato, Mr. Kent. Domo.
I think we lost him. Is he there? Are you back, Kent? Oh, you're muted now.
How about now?
There we go. That's much better.
Sweet.
You put the voice box away.
Is Timmy stuck in a well?
Yeah.
Timmy is stuck in a well.
What is it, girl? What is it?
We're gonna have to put old Yeller down.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's really part of my goals. You know, it's just, you know, quit making expensive noise and actually try to see how good I can get. So.
Speaking of, you know, getting better with your rifle or whatever. So one of the things that we had talked about that I'd gotten questions about after the last podcast that we did together was people were asking me about the designated marksman role being, you know, because I had talked about how, you know, the sniper's role is from 600 meters to 900 meters. And, you know, your regular infantry soldier, or your regular soldier is supposed to be able to engage targets between 0 and 300. And your designated marksman is supposed to fill, you know, the gap in between, which is 300 to 600. But that wasn't entirely true. What I was trying to say more, but I just didn't word it properly, is really your designated marksman, he's just a rifleman. He's a member of your, you know, he's a regular member of your squad. So you have this rifleman who is so proficient with his rifle that he can engage out past what, you know, your regular dudes can, which is the 300. So they give him a more ballistically capable arm to do that with. So instead of rocking an M4 with a red dot on it, you know, they might hand him a M110 with an LPVO on it. So now he's rocking 308. So he's got a slightly higher ballistic coefficient projectile with more ass behind it to deliver more energy or terminal performance on target. And also he has a more capable optic so that he can actually see better, because that's what optics do, is they help you see better, or they help you, you know, in that way. So that was one of the things I wanted to hit on my match. You know, people were saying, you know, why do you have this stage that's at bad breath distance, where, you know, the targets are, you know, 10 or 15 yards away, however far they are, and you're trying to smoke these targets wicked fast or whatever. And that's because in my expert opinion, I'll say that I think that a designated marksman should be a master of the rifle. So he shouldn't just be able to engage the far targets, because that's a skill in itself. He shouldn't just be able to engage the close targets. That's its own thing too. You know, engaging close targets requires you to be quick so that you don't get killed, because the target distance is closer. So overmatch and lethality. Whereas whenever the targets are farther away, you know, that you have time as your advantage. So they're two different shooting skills. As a designated marksman, I think that you have to master both of those skills. You know, you have to be able to be quick and do the short range work, but you also have to be able to take your time and do the long range stuff. But you can't take too much time because you're just in the middle. You know, you don't have all day like a sniper might have. You know, you're whenever your designated marksman is doing his job, when he's putting in work, you're already being engaged. So you have seconds to start, putting rounds on the enemy before your buddies start dying. So that's why this role, it means a whole lot to me, this role. That's why I've got my buddy Evan coming out. So I've got a guest speaker coming out to my match, Evan Franklin. He's a good friend of mine. He's a Purple Heart recipient. He got shot in the arm in Afghanistan. His arm got opened up like a hot dog whenever the round went in here and came out here. But he is what he did was he was smoking Hodges with his M14, which is an old system. I wouldn't say it's a great system. I've been issued one, but that was what the Army issued him, and he did work with it, and they were under fire when he had to do his job, and that's it's a role that the Army has pushed away from, and I kind of understand the thought process on what they're trying to do by pushing away from the designated marksman concept. They're trying to say that every soldier who is either infantry or cavalry, every foot fighting soldier should be able to engage targets out to 600. And that would be awesome. If we could teach our soldiers that would be the shit if we could teach our soldiers that.
Yeah, and that was one thing, Cam, that I always felt the Army did very, very poorly with.
Was what?
The emphasis and the importance of marksmanship.
Mm-hmm.
So the Marine, and I'll say this to their credit, the Marines at least shoot out to 500 meters, right?
Yeah.
They do put that work in. I was not in the Marine Corps. I was in the Army, so I can really only speak firsthand to the Army experience. But you were either, a Joe with a rifle and was, that meant capable of engaging human-sized targets at 300 meters, or you were a sniper. The problem is that those Joes, unless you were infantry or combat arms, and even that wasn't universally applicable, even then it was just good enough, right? There was even still, and Kim, you could probably even speak to that from, the combat arms side. You had to, it was your unit dependent requirements on how much emphasis was placed on marksmanship as a whole. There was, if it was good enough, when you got to your first unit or got to your unit, whatever it might be, either they're going to be like, all right, guys, time to go qualify, make sure we're still good enough, or it's no, that's not good enough, we're going to keep training. There was no in between. So it was hit or miss on what you might end up with. So
yeah.
I think the emphasis, and I've really been giving this thought, and I'm sorry to step on you again, but
no, it's fine.
Since we've generated so much interest in this match, I'm really truly I am excited to come to this match. Aside from being able to hang out with you guys and all the other fine people that are going to be coming, but the concept of a designated marksman being employed and adopted more comprehensively and with open arms that the Army should be adopting it with it truly has me excited. I think that would be fantastic. Right?
Yeah.
So being able to get racing to it is going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it, man.
You were if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, were you a 12 Bravo?
No.
Okay, I don't know why, for some reason I thought you were a 12 Bravo. But so Evan Franklin, the guy I was talking about a minute ago, he was a 12 Bravo. So the Army has
combat engineer for the folks playing the home game.
Oh, yep, sorry. My bad. I'm usually good about picking up on that, but I've been drinking. Designated Marksman School, there's only one place that teaches the 1059 Designated Marksman course in the Army. One place. And that's in Arkansas. And that's for National Guard and Reserve soldiers. The active component, the way they teach their designated marksmen is they hook them up with their snipers for, a couple of weeks, and their snipers teach them a couple of things about ballistics and shooting far. And to me, that's not right. That's not the way that it's supposed to work. Everyone within a squad has a role. You have a job. You've got, your squad leader. Your squad leader is in charge of directing both teams and keeping the mission, rolling. Then you've got your 2 team leaders. Your 2 team leaders are in charge of the teams that they're in charge of. So you've got Alpha and Bravo. And then you have your point man, who is a rifleman. So you've got your point man, and then usually either to the left or right, depending on what's your hard side and what's your soft side. You're going to have grenadiers, another rifleman typically. You're going to have machine gunners. Depending on how big your teams are and how big your squads are, you might have multiple machine gunners. You might have multiple grenadiers. People are, filling so many roles and stuff within. And then not only that, you've got a guy who's actually, checking the map and making sure that you guys are still on track for your mission. You've got the dude who's keeping pace count to make sure that you guys are, where you're supposed to be at that time. And you've got your radio dude. So everybody's got, all these jobs within a squad whenever you're doing squad movements and firing movements and stuff like that. And I just feel like, whenever you're a squad leader, you should not be a designated marksman. You should not be a machine gunner. You should not be a grenadier, because your job as a squad leader is to keep the squad moving on mission. Whenever you're a team leader, I still don't think that a team leader should be a designated marksman. I've said that before. So your E5s, I don't think that they should be, any of those roles. If they're filling the team leader role, they shouldn't be a machine gunner. They shouldn't be a grenadier. They shouldn't be they definitely shouldn't be a fucking point man. So then you've got, your junior enlisted or your privates and specialists and sometimes other E5s. That are your members of your squad that are doing your firing movements and stuff like that. And you have to know, who's capable of what. So for you to have the capability in a gunfight to bring the fight to the enemy that's extended their reach, their overmatch is what that's called. I think it's detrimental to the Army. I think that increases soldier survivability. So why not make that a bigger thing? While I was in Afghanistan a couple of years ago, I submitted a paper, a document. I had typed it up and I said, "Hey, my name is Sergeant Cameron Hayes, soon to be Staff Sergeant Cameron Hayes." It was promotable. I was like, "I'm Sergeant Cameron Hayes. I want to start my own school in Fort Bragg, North Carolina." That got denied. "I want to start my own school at Camp Butner, North Carolina." That got denied. Yeah, the Army wants to spend money on what they want to spend money on. And apparently right now what's important is people passing their ACFT. But then what just happened in Iraq yesterday? So now we're fighting again, right? So now it's going to be important again for 5 seconds. So we've run into the same fucking problem over and over and over. So in World War I, we started implementing snipers. We didn't have any established sniper doctrine because it wasn't considered sporting to shoot people from far away because they weren't fucking shooting you in the face. So then we go to World War II. We had no established sniper doctrine because anything that we had learned in World War I we thought wasn't cool. It wasn't okay to do that. So we trashed all that. Did the same shit in World War II. Then Vietnam started, and the only shit we had to go on was stuff from a dude from Britain. A rifleman went to war. It was a McBride book. I read it while I was on deployment a couple years ago. And that's where we started our fucking doctrine. We've been doing it for fucking years, and the Army wants to... Oh, hold on.
Sorry. Yes.
No,
sorry.
Yes.
No,
sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You're in a safe
Beautiful.
place, buddy. Remember,
beautiful.
Wusa, you're among
Woosah.
friends. But no, Ken, you're absolutely right. And the thing is, while frustrating though it may be, it starts with guys like you, the people who aren't connected to Halliburton and all these other defense contracts, who aren't. If we look at who wrote the Marine Corps sniper doctrine for Carlos Hathcock, this was a good old boy that was used to hunting long range and set the standard with a Remington 700 deer rifle, right? So it's those little embers that start the fire. So as this designated marksman role starts to gain traction, you never know what could happen, right? So while I absolutely feel your frustration, don't let it stop you from continuing to drive forward and try to exact that change. Hell, let's even shift gears a little bit. Talking about pistol work, right?
Mhm.
We could all sit here and bitch and complain about Army rifle marksmanship. What was abhorrent was the Army pistol qualifications and training.
That's garbage.
Yeah, stand here and shoot. You'd be better off putting one hand behind your back and shooting 20, rimfire Olympic bullseye, right? Oh, Winchester Model 70. Thank you, X-Ring.
I didn't even hear the question. I was still fuming.
No. What I was talking, I mentioned Carlos Hathcock with his daddy's deer rifle, and I quoted it as a Remington 700, and it was a Winchester Model 70.
It was a Winchester Model 70.
Why do I feel like X-Ring's the kind of guy that would just stop and say, I know where the bodies were buried because I still have the shovel? What the fuck movie was that from?
Shooter.
Yeah, Shooter.
He's like, I know what Hathcock carries.
So I had I was there. I had a lot of people in the Army and in the Air Force and Navy and stuff like that. I saw it recently. The pistol to them is such a joke that they don't consider it really even a fighting arm. It's more like a fucking paperweight, honestly. This used to drive me crazy. Imagine that, my blood pressure getting high. Whenever I was in Kandahar, I got in trouble for yelling at a group of officers for using their M9.
Oh.
They were using their M9 pistols as a hat rack in the DFAC. So they would go into the dining facility, and you're not supposed to wear your PC. You're not supposed to wear your cover, any kind of cover, indoors. So they would go inside, they would take their hat off, and they would hang it on their pistol. And I was like, inside the DFAC, where there's Hajis everywhere, is where they decide they want to put their fucking hat on their gun whenever they might actually need it. These fucking fobbits that
Breathe.
So then somebody was talking about the M9 pistol being a paperweight, and right around that time was whenever I made that post recently about a situation that I was in when I was in Afghanistan. A situation that I was in when I was in Afghanistan where I put my pistol in someone's mouth, and he spoke perfect English after that. The Hajis. I keep saying that. The local nationals, the Dig, the indigenous folk, they look at pistols differently than they look at rifles.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that. If you carry a rifle, every motherfucker and their mom carries a rifle in Afghanistan and Iraq. But if you carry a pistol, you're in a position of power. So there was, I've sent a video to a couple of people of me doing escort detail. It's a funny little short video of what I did with my pistol whenever I was on escort detail and stuff like that. There's a picture of a situation I was in years ago where I had a dude on his knees and I had my pistol to the back of his head. I didn't kill him, and that was just they look at that a whole lot differently than an M4. They don't give a shit about you with your M4. But if you point your pistol at them, they assume that you're going to execute them.
Yep.
And I in that situation, I was going to execute that person, but he was polite after that. So I was polite back.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that's where I was going with that I was going to add on that. Well, no, since we're talking Army, to piggyback on what Cam was saying,
to caveat,
sorry guys, it's inside military humor, but so that was actually an interesting social norm for them. At least that was the cultural application or aura that they assigned to the pistol, was that it was an executioner's weapon. Yeah. It was always used by dictators or warlords. Whoever was the Mac Daddy in charge, you never saw them carrying a long gun. They always had a pistol. They might have had a rifle that they would go to eventually, but when you saw them out and about walking around, they always had a sidearm. But to the point that I was trying to make earlier with regards to your efforts, Cam, if we look at the exponential growth or interest in the shooting sports, more specifically things like 3-gun, USPSA, the Army Marksmanship Unit has always been involved in those sports. Always. Since the Army Marksmanship Unit was around, as those sports became, gained popularity, the Army Marksmanship Unit got involved in it. Seeing the capabilities in a competition environment gave these guys the experience and the exposure to draw the parallels necessary to show and demonstrate how these things could be used in a combat environment. So now the Army Marksmanship Unit, to some degree, actually travels around from unit to unit within the regular Army. I don't know if they do it for the National Guard and the reserves, but definitely for the big Army, they travel around and actually teach units how to fight with a pistol, or at least engage to a higher degree of performance than standing at a 15-yard line and punching holes in paper. Actually moving and engaging multiple targets in a dynamic environment with a sidearm. So if anything, Cam, that should give you some hope that by more and more of these designated marksmanship matches gaining favor and gaining popularity, maybe that too will continue to roll the ball of progress into the Army's lap, and they'll finally get the hint.
I was actually supposed to have a couple of AMU dudes that were supposed to come shoot my match. There are going to be a couple of AMU dudes at my match. There's also going to be a couple of dudes from the Sniper Schoolhouse, and there's going to be a couple of dudes from the Special Forces Sniper Course Schoolhouse that are going to be at my match. So that there are Army dudes that are coming to my match and stuff like that. There was supposed to be a couple more AMU guys that were supposed to come, but they ended up having other stuff come up. But you were talking a little bit ago, we kind of pushed away from it. I got aggravated. We were talking about the importance of marksmanship within the unit. Like, they get to decide how important or unimportant marksmanship is. So every time I go to a unit, I push marksmanship really, really hard. Every time I go to a unit, like I push it for months before we have to go and qualify, which most units don't do. And I do a lot of hip pocket training, and I'm the annoying NCO who's like, all right, I've got this whiteboard here. I'm about to teach you guys some shit about ballistics. And then the next time I'm like, all right, I've got this whiteboard here. I'm going to teach you about zero offset. All right, I've got this whiteboard here. I'm going to teach you what your bullet should do, at this distance and why, and I'm the guy who's just going to teach random classes to soldiers. It's not always about marksmanship. I taught a class last month about map reading. I taught a class before that about filling a radio. I teach classes about basic soldier skills all the time because soldiers don't know how to do it anymore. I mean, like, for me, it was like, I've always thought the thought process that I've always had is I don't think that you're a good NCO unless you have mastered the basic soldier skills to such a degree that you can teach them to lower soldiers. And there is more than 7 pieces of Army doctrine that say that your job as an NCO is to teach junior enlisted. More than 7 pieces of Army doctrine. So if anybody ever asks you what your job is as an NCO, besides the NCO creed, no one is more professional than I. Then, to teach junior enlisted, to lead soldiers is obviously one, but you also have to teach them. You have to teach them how to be soldiers. You have to hold them accountable. You sometimes got to be a dickhead. That's part of your job. You can't be buddies with all of your soldiers and stuff like that. Every unit that I've been in for the past 6 years has had the highest marksmanship scores in whatever battalion I fell into. So whatever battalion I've been in for the past 6 years, whatever unit I've been in has had the highest scores in that battalion. And that's always been my goal, and I've maintained that goal. And I've been the top shot every year. So I'm doing a good job in that I'm teaching the soldiers how to shoot. I'm teaching them what they're supposed to be doing and stuff like that because they're getting the scores. But I'm not teaching soldiers well enough to beat me. So I'm not teaching them well enough. I want to teach them better. I want to teach soldiers how to be better than me.
That's
I like
outstanding, man. That's
like it.
outstanding.
So the last thing that we had on our mini not agenda for this New Year's managed to find its way into our agenda throughout the national news media circuit, and we fucking touched on it a little bit, but we had an old dude with an old dude's gun in an air marshal caliber smoke check a motherfucker in a church.
In
right?
air marshal caliber.
So I want to get this off my chest, and I made a video about it that I'm not going to publish, because every time we do shit like this as media people or as content creators, if I do a video about the Texas church shooting, I'm trying to somehow profit from it or use it to whatever, elevate my fucking status or whatever the hell. So you do no harm, no foul there. Like, you can't, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But we have now, and we have before, there's plenty of video evidence, but this one is really nationally, been syndicated and been tossed around a lot, where we see the effectiveness and the fucking lack of effectiveness in the same video of concealed carry civilians stepping up and doing something. So you guys were,
with a gun.
Yeah, right. We got good guy with a gun. And I want to try to preface this by saying, like, there by the grace of God goes anybody else, right? Like the gentleman who did press that trigger, God bless him for being there. I'd like to see us all held to a better standard than that. I'd like it to take less than 5.1 seconds to drop that motherfucker, right? I really would. And we saw all the folks that were willing to. I mean, the gentleman that was willing to stand up, draw from the small of his back. He stepped into the breach and took rounds. Like he did something and helped people, but he was ineffective in his training or in his goals. And we saw the folks who responded to it afterwards, who proceeded to point their guns at everybody but the threat. Like, we saw a lot of chaotic reality in that 51 seconds of video. And I just was wondering, I'd really like to hear you two dudes' take on what you saw in it, without trying to be John Correa and do an active self-protection, like 15-minute video on it. But there was a lot in that. And, a lot of the average everyday people in the world don't see shit like that all the time, and it's getting some traction. So we may as well use it to do just a little bit of educating anyway.
Yeah. So for those that aren't aware of what Ken's talking about, at White Settlement, Texas, in a church, a gunman entered the sanctuary during Sunday Mass and was armed with a shotgun, was, from what I understand, belligerent from the start. They've had trouble with this guy throughout the morning, and it ultimately came to a head when he drew his shotgun and shot two people, one of which died. The other one was wounded and in critical condition, or he was in the hospital, but expected to survive. Last I heard, and my information could be dated at this point. There was an individual who also responded and was able to score a headshot on the gunman from about 15 yards and ultimately ended the gunman's life.
Good.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I want to preface this by saying what I'm about to say, all the negative stuff that I have has nothing to do with the good guy with the gun, the guy that actually pulled the trigger and scored the shot on the assailant. While his reaction time could have been faster, I'm not going to armchair quarterback this thing all that much. He did his part and saved a lot of lives that day. With that being said, to Kent's point, there were, I think, 5 or 6 other people that were armed inside that sanctuary that all also drew their gun after the gunman had gone down. and proceeded to all move erratically without any coordination through the crowd of innocent bystanders. And I can't even count how many people were flagged by otherwise friendly armed citizens. The complete lack of tactical proficiency that was demonstrated should serve as an example, to the point that just because you can doesn't mean you should. If you take on the responsibility of carrying a firearm to defend your life and the lives of others, then you are duty bound and responsible for getting an adequate amount of training to conduct yourself and handle that firearm in a situation that is that chaotic. I myself was in a similar situation in Seattle many years ago in a mall, and it was utter chaos. While I was too young to have a firearm or a concealed carry license on me, even if I had, it would have been difficult to be able to safely draw my firearm and move through the crowd of mass hysteria that was coming out the doors in a wave upon me. So, like I said, hats off to the guy that actually put the gunman down. But everyone else out there, get some more training, for the love of God. If you don't have the training, or if you think you have the training, and that your organization, this church, supposedly has a security team, there needs to be a coordinated plan in the event that something like that happens. I will also note that while there may have been, and I had heard stories that there were first aid kits on site, I'd be willing to bet there was a substantial lack of training in first responder or trauma type first aid. They still had to call the ambulance. They still had to do all that stuff to really get the proper treatment that these guys probably could have had immediately from somebody who was trained in that front. So, bottom line, good job on the shoot. Good job for the good guy with the gun. Bad job for everybody else involved.
Yeah, that's a pretty decently fair assessment. I mean, we don't know. There's so much shit we don't know and stuff like this, right? Because all we know is 51 seconds worth of video.
Right.
That's all anybody knows for sure. Us being freedom-loving American patriot gun people are already predisposed to not necessarily trust the mass media a whole hell of a lot when it comes to what reporting they put out and retractions, and they're always rushing to be the first, not necessarily the most accurate. So you read shit anywhere from this guy was an FBI agent to he was a reserve deputy to whatever else, and really the bottom line is.
I do have some clarification on that, Kent. From what I have been able to see, he is none of those things. He was at most a volunteer deputy.
Right, reserve deputy, yeah.
Not even reserve, volunteer.
Okay.
So one step down from reserve, as in, if you need help, call me.
Gotcha.
And that is it. He's not some super special ninja spy FBI retiree or anything like that. Just a regular guy, no different than any of us.
And yet he still chose to carry 357 SIG.
It's got its place. I'm not going to diss the round.
No, I mean, it seriously worked this time. So we don't know a whole lot of things. Like those 6 other dudes that were in that group, for all we know, this church security group was formed last Tuesday at noon, right? Where it was like, hey, maybe this would be a good idea. And these boys all strapped on their guns to go to church as the first time they were ever having a church security team group. Or they could have been doing this for the last 104 Sundays, and they could have 2 years worth of church security group work put in. And that's what they came up with. We don't know.
My brother-in-law, Joe Addis, he caught a lot of flack here in North Carolina. I don't know if you guys maintain any kind of y'all probably don't give a shit about what goes on in North Carolina, really. Virginia's the big boog site right now, so everybody cares about that. My brother-in-law went on the news because they were talking about whenever North Carolina was talking about being a constitutional carry state. That wasn't too terribly long ago. And my brother-in-law, Joe Addis, he was very against it. And I know most people are, but my rights say. And all Joe was trying to say is that some of the people that come through our class don't know anything about guns. They come to the class and they're like, I'm fucking lost, bro. I just came to get my concealed carry. I just want to carry a gun just in case something happens. Well, what are you going to do if something does happen? Well, I probably won't do nothing, but, I know I have it. We've literally gotten answers like that and stuff. So Joe caught a lot of flack for actually going on the news and saying that he was against constitutional carry, that he thinks that in North Carolina, we're doing it right by saying you have to take at least the 8-hour course to get your concealed carry permit. And that was all he was saying. You can open carry in North Carolina. North Carolina is an open carry state. He's saying that, that the 8-hour course, why do away with that? You're getting training, you're getting some kind of training. But, I understand the flip side of that coin being, oh, well, that's the state's way, or that's the government's way of saying that, you have to pay this to do that and blah, 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 and whatever, and all this other stuff. But I've seen some of the people that come through these fucking courses. These people can't hit the broadside of a fucking barn, or these people have never touched a gun in their life and stuff like that. And that's supposed to be our well-regulated militia. So you guys were talking about the 5 seconds time. You guys wish he would have pulled his gat out faster and smoked that son of a bitch quicker and all that other stuff. We all wish that. But, TJ's experienced it. I've experienced it. Your brain has to have time to process what it's seeing, what it's hearing, what it smells, what's going on around it. So, whenever you have something catastrophic going on, you don't, people say, well, it was a reflex. I reflexively pulled out my gun. So you hear a gunshot, you reflexively pull out a gun. What if you hear a gunshot and then a kid runs through the door? And your response was to smoke that fucking kid. So I think that 5 seconds was fine. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with him taking the extra time to be sure before that gun cleared that holster that it was a threat he was about to fucking kill. So I was okay with that. Because, in the video, from what I saw, you guys might have seen something different. The only video I saw is the fucking corner of the church looking in. I wasn't that dude. I wasn't any of the other dudes in the church. I saw him see the threat, analyze the threat, engage the threat.
Yeah.
That's what I saw.
Yeah, and Kent, I think you're right. And let's break it down a little bit more. Kent and I have both watched this video at least a dozen times each. And to your point, like I said, I really don't. I wish it could have been faster, but I don't see anything that he did wrong. But if you looking at it, it was either 5 seconds from when the guy pulled the gun out initially, and let's just say he didn't even see it. His vision could have been skewed from the angle or whatever have you. I'm not going to speculate on that too much, but it was 5 seconds from the time that he pulled the shotgun out of his coat, and from the time he fired the first shot from the shotgun, it was 2 seconds between that first shot and bad guy getting smoked.
That's quick.
That's damn quick. So, to his, like I said, I don't think the guy that did this, the good guy with the gun, did anything wrong. I think he did fantastic. Okay,
so you guys are specifically talking about the 6 other motherfuckers who are just pointing guns at everyone. So, another situation that I've been in, and I'm, oh fuck, TJ and you, Kent, you've probably done shoot houses before, right? How many times have you done a shoot house with dudes who are supposed to be tier 1? And they're all flagging each other, so there's, I can't tell you how many times I've been through shoot houses and I've seen people flagging the shit out of each other. And you want to scream at those people. You want to be like, you know what? Something is coming out of the end of that thing at 3,000 feet per second. And you're going to fucking kill your friend or whatever. But sometimes the restriction of your space and stuff, there's not a safe place.
Well, so I've had the privilege of working with some of those guys before, and they have a bit of a different approach to the 4 fundamentals of safety.
Yeah.
Right. So they still observe them. They know them. They probably even have them tattooed somewhere. But
between their butt cheeks.
Well, I see what you did there.
Yep.
Anyway, their mentality is when it comes to the 4 fundamentals, you can break any one of those rules at any one time. It's when you break more than one that that becomes a problem.
Yeah.
The difference here is we're not dealing with tier 1 operators. We're dealing with those same window lickers that you were just complaining about that took the concealed carry class.
You're right.
Right? I have no issue. You want to put me in a room with SF dudes and Rangers and Navy SEALs and all that stuff, they can flag me all day long because I know they're trained to a level to where that flexibility, we'll say, in the safety fundamentals is understandable and warranted in those situations, right?
Yep.
If my partner's got to flag me to shoot the guy coming up behind me with a knife that I didn't see, right?
Flag the shit out of me, fam. Being stabbed sucks.
Yeah. So, but either way, do it. Save my life, please.
Hey, guys.
When you've got Karen from picking up her kids at soccer practice, I get a little bit apprehensive about the situation.
Can't you just imagine the same thing I did? You saw the haircut and everything, didn't you? I fucking knew it, you son of a bitch. I fucking knew it.
Oh my God.
Guys, I normally don't have a time restriction whenever we do these things, but I've got a buddy who's in from the Navy and he's about to go back home on Friday. So tonight's the last night I'm going to get to see him. So I would like to say some stuff to my sponsors if that's cool. And then I'm going to have to pop smoke.
Wait. So you got to go swap your buddy's poop deck or whatever you do in the Navy? Swap the poop deck.
How much have you been drinking, Kent?
Not enough. With that, we are coming up on that mark, Cam. So good point. So go ahead. We'll give you the floor to.
All right. Glad I saved 30 minutes for this. I'm actually specifically going to talk about the sponsors for the match because that was part of what we were talking about tonight. So I'm not going to hit every single person who I've ever come in contact with for the past 5 years. I'm just going to talk about, All right. So Todd Resource Management, Richard Todd. It's actually his birthday today. Happy birthday, Richard. He's the guy who owns the gun range that I'm hosting my match at. So he sponsors my YouTube channel. So that's the range that I get to go, review products and stuff like that. So super awesome dude. You guys will get to meet him. He's going to be RO in the match. Aerodynamics, Cecil Self, he's working on my rifle cartridge. He's sponsoring the match. He's throwing certs on the match and stuff, on the prize table for the match and stuff like that. Title II Manufacturing, Chris, my buddy Chris, he's got 2 dope-ass knives that he's putting on the prize table. He's got one on the regular prize table and one on the RO's prize table. And they're like, they're the shit. TJ, you'll really appreciate them. Unless you're like, I know you make your own knives or whatever. You're like, well, it's not mine, so it's fucking garbage.
No. Actually, by the way, I've got 2 prototypes I'm bringing you to tell me which one you like better.
Yes, I'm about it. Bluegrass Targets. I actually just got done talking to him before we started doing this. Bluegrass Targets is bringing some targets for the prize table. He's actually bringing 2 T-Rex targets and stuff like that. It's just steel targets you guys can, I'm going to put those on the prize table so that, whenever we're going down the list of who gets what or whatever, they yank it off the prize table if they want it. Bluegrass targets, steel targets, or whatever. Bullet Consulting Group. I don't know what the hell he's putting on the prize table, but he's putting something on the prize table. So, and he's also one of the ROs is Andy. Fortitude Consulting, I talked about doing the classes with them. There will be a cert on the prize table from Fortitude Consulting for one of their classes. Control Solutions Muzzle Brakes. They were actually the last ones to jump on. And it was just because I've known Jeremy Kahn for so long that he just thought that I was going to contact him, and then I never did about my match. So he was just like, all right, maybe he doesn't want me to sponsor it. So I'm actually going to have 4 Control Solutions muzzle brakes on certificates on my prize table that you get a free muzzle brake. I have control brakes on, I'm going to say I've got them on 80% of my guns, my long guns. I've got Control Solution muzzle brakes on, so they work. Canebrake, Mike Lewis, he saw a deficiency in the Army. He wanted to do something about it. He did something about it. So he's supposed to be throwing stuff on the prize table. I don't know if it's going to get here on time or not. So if it does, it'll be on the prize table. If not, maybe it'll be my next match. Lead Sling'N Ginger. There's this dude, TJ. He's a handsome motherfucker. He's got this Sling'N Lead podcast, and he brings me on sometimes and whatever. He sponsored a shooter to come shoot my match. The dude's name's Mike Hines. He's a crippy Marine dude. He's got a fucking cane and he's gimpy and shit. And then there's Kent Hauer of Green Mountain Defense. Kent he's a phenomenal dad. He wants to be better at everything, and that's shit that you look up to people for. He's a firearms instructor that I would consider reputable, not just a firearms instructor, because everyone and their fucking sister knows a firearms instructor. This is somebody who I would trust with my life, and you should trust him too. You should give him your business. He's the owner of Green Mountain Defense in Pennsylvania. And then also, last but not least, I wanted to throw this one on here last because I don't know how this is going to work out. There was another company that said they were going to put stuff on the prize table, and then they've kind of ghosted me. But we'll see. Kratos Arms might be putting stuff on the prize table. I'm not sure. They might not. If so, here's your shout out. If not,
Evil glare.
Evil glare. Clint Eastwood look.
Yeah, there you go. Kent, what you got, man?
Well, I am looking forward like nothing other to seeing what happens this weekend. I'm hoping my butthole is the same diameter as, today as it is next Sunday. So there's that. This is going to be fun, man. We're going to have a great time. Right now, until the end of 2 weeks from now, from 1/1 to 1/15, GMD is running a buy a class, get a class 50% off sale. One time only. So you buy a class, you get another class for 50% off. That applies to any 2-day program or any private lesson that we're running throughout the year. So buy a class online, and I will invoice you for a second class if you're choosing for 50% off. That can all be found at greenmountaindefense.com. So if you're on the fence, or if you got a buddy that's on the fence or whatever like that, this is my way of helping you, get off the schneid and get on the right side and come train with us, because we're going to have some fun this year and we're going to do some learning. And
this is the way.
This is the way, in fact. Other than that, we got merch here at the Sling'N Lead podcast. We're really excited about that. Check out our link for Teespring. We've got some awesome t-shirts. Most of them have come from the pre-show or the after show where we say naughty, inappropriate nonsense and come up with funny t-shirt ideas. So check the link for that. Support all of us, please, on YouTube. TJ at Lead Sling'N Ginger, myself at Green Mountain Defense, Cam at HeyC494, Instagram, Facebook, all those places, please. And check out TJ's articles on the Gunpoint blog. TJ is not just a pretty face, but he is a mediocre writer, so you can enjoy his musings at the Gunpoint.
An amateur porn star.
And an amateur porn star.
Stunt double, actually, but sure.
Same.
No, I mean, it's porn still, but stunt double.
Same.
Anyway, guys, as always, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. I want to thank our audience for having such a engaging chat session during this live broadcast. If you missed the live broadcast, by all means, you can catch us on your favorite podcast player, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it, we're probably there. If not, let us know your favorite, and we'll work on broadcasting of those as well. We're always trying to expand our reach. Until we see each other again, God bless you all. Take care of each other and get out and shoot.
Bye, everybody.
Bah.